Hi. What I'd like to do is find the zeros of a factorial polynomial using synthetic division. First thing you want to do is a thing called the rational root theorem. And what that is you take the last number and you put it over the first number. And it gives you all of the rational roots. So that's why they call it the rational root theorem. And the deal is, with this particular polynomial, I already know the answers. I built it. So I know the answers, the solutions, the zeros, where it crosses the x-axis are all going to be nice whole numbers. So when you do rational root theorem, they say put a p over a q. And what the p is this back number here. So the p is going to be 3. And the q is this hidden front coefficient, 1. And you're supposed to do this whenever you give an attempt at synthetic division. And now you need to find the factors of 3. And that's going to be plus minus 1, plus minus 3. And that goes over the factors of q, which are 1. So it's plus minus 1. This gives me a couple of answers. The first possible answer from least to greatest is going to be negative 3. The next answer could be negative 1. The other answer could be positive 1. And the final answer could be positive 3. This is nice. I like this problem because there's only 3 solutions. It's to the third power. And I have 4 possible rational roots, or 4 possible answers. When you do synthetic, what you want to do is kind of act like a computer. So a computer wouldn't deal well with these variables. It would just deal with the coefficients, the 1, the negative 3, the negative 1, and the positive 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down those coefficients. The first coefficient is positive 1. The next coefficient is negative 3. The next coefficient is negative 1. And the last number, the constant term, is positive 3. And now I'm going to start guessing at what the answer is. And all my guesses go in a little place saver there. And my first guess is always, for me that is going to be that number 1. So I'm going to put that number 1 right in that little place saver there. And that's my first guess. Now there's a couple of ways to do this, but this is the way that I was taught. And I think it's kind of smooth. It goes pretty quickly. So you put a 0 as a place saver again underneath the first coefficient, which in this case is 1. And then you add those. What's 1 plus 0? That's going to give me 1. Now, what's 1 times 1? And that gives me 1. Now you add or subtract. You do what it says. So what's negative 3 plus 1? Well, negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2. Now you multiply. What's 1 times negative 2? Well, 1 times negative 2, that's going to give me negative 2. Now I go back to adding or subtracting again. What's negative 1 minus 2? Well, negative 1 minus 2 is negative 3. Now this final column is where you want to slow down and take it easy and be careful. What's 1 times negative 3? 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. And notice, in the final column, if I get a remainder of 0, I just found one of the solutions to this polynomial. So my first solution, which is my first guess, is going to be positive 1. Now I'm going to take another guess. I'm going to guess this time 3, because I see that 3 there. It's one of the possible roots. So I'm going to guess that positive 3. I'm going to take a swing at that 3 there. So instead of throwing it back into the original, I'm going to throw it at this broken down version of the original polynomial. This technically is x squared minus 2x minus 3. I could factor that, but I want to use synthetic. So I'm going to put that 3, that guess, into my little placeholder. Again, I'm going to put a 0 underneath the leading coefficient. And then I'm going to start the adding, subtracting, multiplying process. 1 plus 0 is 1. What's 3 times 1? Well, 3 times 1 is 3. Now, what's negative 2 plus 3? Negative 2 plus 3, negative 2 plus 3, or 3 minus 2, that's going to give me 1. Now, I want to slow down and be careful here for this final column. 3 times 1 is 3. And notice, negative 3 plus 3 gives me a remainder of 0. I could try another synthetic process, but since I have two of my answers, one of them is x equals 1 and the other one is x equals 3, I'm going to say that this is x plus 1 equals 0. And I'm going to set up this little tiny equation. And then I'm going to solve that for x. And notice, when I solve that for x, I subtract 1 from both sides. I get x equals negative 1. So, my third possible answer is negative 1. And there's my 3 solutions to my third degree polynomial. Thank you.